Very good evening, friends. So, I hope you're all doing safe as well as healthy. Well, I thought let's have a look at a review of the paper which just happened for the May 22 attempt. Well, I think if I put it in short, then I would say it was a very easy paper. But of course, it was a slightly lengthy paper as well, because I think looking at the number of issues which were asked in the paper, I think the students' input, of course, was that it is a lengthy paper, and I think also feel that at a student level, I think on a very idealistic situation, one could have attempted almost around maybe a 90% paper. One could have felt that there was a running short of time, because I think when you are in an examination environment, you're definitely under a pressure. So I think first of all presenting the answer, then I think the time pressure, everything definitely makes the situation more tight. I think if I look at from the perspective of that if I'm giving the paper, of course we might have done things a couple of times, and I think we might find the paper very easy. But I think let's have a very genuine look from the student's point of view. Yes, it could have created a tightened situation. Some people I think gave a feedback that they could not attempt around 20 marks. Some people said they couldn't attempt around almost 25 marks or 10 marks of the paper. But I think all said and done, but if you look at the level of the paper, it was very, very easy. I think let's have a little look at a little more detail in terms of an ABC category, what exactly came in the paper. एग्जामिनेशन चल रहे हैं और कुछ बच्चे अपने एग्जामिनेशन की तैयारी नवंबर 22 और मई 23 ऑनवर्ड्स की कर रहे हैं, और नेचुरली ये वक्त है जब आप अपनी क्लासेस प्लान कर रहे हैं और सोच रहे हैं कि हम अपनी क्लासेस कहाँ लें। और यदि आप अपनी क्लासेस अनअकैडमी पर लेना चाह रहे हैं तो ये एक बड़ा सही समय है, क्योंकि इस वक्त अनअकैडमी के प्लेटफॉर्म पर आपको मिल सकता है काफ़ी अच्छी सेविंग, क्योंकि 19 मई 11:59 PM तक तो जो रेट्स सब्सक्रिप्शन पर चल रहे हैं उसके बेसिस पर आप सब्सक्रिप्शन ले सकते हैं, लेकिन जैसे ही 12 बजेंगे सब्सक्रिप्शन रेट्स आपके इंक्रीज होंगे। और मैं समझता हूं कि अगर आप अनअकैडमी प्लेटफॉर्म पर देखें तो सब्सक्रिप्शंस के रेट्स वैसे ही इंडस्ट्री के अंदर मेरे ख्याल में सबसे लीस्ट है। आई थिंक स्टूडेंट्स के पूरे ध्यान को रखते हुए इस वक्त सब्सक्रिप्शन रेट्स काफ़ी कम है, क्योंकि आप अगर सब्सक्रिप्शंस के प्लान्स देखेंगे तो मेरे ख्याल में उसके अंदर रिवीजन की अगर हम 20% के बाद की बात भी करते हैं तो कोई बहुत मैसिव इंक्रीज नहीं है। लेकिन क्यों हम 20% इसके अंदर एक्स्ट्रा स्पेंड करें, रादर जो 20% स्पेंड हो सकता है वो बचा लें, उसको कहीं और इस्तेमाल करें। और साथ में आप 10% डिस्काउंट भी अवेल कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि जब आप अपनी सब्सक्रिप्शन प्लान करते हैं तो इसके अंदर आप एक एजुकेटर कोड इस्तेमाल करते हैं। जैसे मेरा एजुकेटर कोड है CAKB10। जैसे ही आप ये कोड इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो इमीडिएटली आपको इस पर 10% डिस्काउंट मिलेगा। इसका मतलब अगर आप 19 मई में 11:59 तक, मतलब 11:59 का क्यों इंतज़ार करना है, उससे पहले ही अभी आज 16 तारीख है तो आपके पास 17, 18 और 16 आज का दिन भी है जब आप ये सब्सक्रिप्शन प्लान कर सकते हैं। तो जो बचत आपकी होगी भाई उसमें आप बुक्स परचेज करें, कुछ अपने लिए परचेज करें, कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। और सब्सक्रिप्शन जब आप लेंगे तो आप इसके अंदर ध्यान रखिएगा कि दो तरह के आपके प्लान्स हैं, और इन दो तरह के प्लान्स में एक आइकॉनिक बैचेस हैं और एक आपके प्लस बैचेस हैं। आइकॉनिक बैचेस के अंदर आपको क्लासेस के साथ साथ उसमें एडिशनल फीचर्स मिलते हैं, जिसके अंदर आपको बुक्स मिलती हैं और आपके पर्सनल डाउट क्लियरिंग सेशंस वगैरह होते हैं, इवेल्युएटेड टेस्ट सीरीज मिलती हैं। साथ में आपको फास्ट ट्रैक की जो गूगल ड्राइव लिंक्स हैं वो आपको इसके अंदर फास्ट ट्रैक बैचेस मिलते हैं, जिन्हें आप एग्जाम से पहले देख सकते हैं। और प्लस क्लासेस अगर आप लेते हैं तो उनके अंदर भी आप क्लासेस देख सकते हैं, बट ऑफ कोर्स आपको उसमें बुक्स नहीं मिलेंगी। और इसमें कुछ सब्सक्रिप्शन में एक कोई लंबा चौड़ा फ़र्क नहीं है। तो आप प्लान्स को देखिए, लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स के अंदर है, जो आपके बजट को सूट करे और आप उस हिसाब से प्लान कीजिए। यू कैन प्लान ग्रुप 1, यू कैन प्लान ग्रुप 2 और यू कैन प्लान बोथ द ग्रुप्स। और कोड इस्तेमाल ज़रूर कीजिएगा 10% डिस्काउंट के लिए, तो इफेक्टिवली आपकी 30% बचत हो जाएगी। 20% जो प्राइस हाइक होने वाला है और 10% आपको डिस्काउंट मिल जाएगा, तो इफेक्टिवली 30% की बचत है। और यदि फिर भी आपको कुछ डिटेल्स चाहिए तो आप एक नंबर नोट कर सकते हैं 85 एंड 5 टाइम्स 85, जिस पर आपकी कोई भी डिटेल्स कोई आप जानना चाहें तो आप इस नंबर पर कर सकते हैं। तो भाई किस बात का इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं, जल्दी जल्दी अपने सब्सक्रिप्शन प्लान कीजिए एंड लेट्स क्रैक द एग्जाम, लेट्स क्रैक इट। If you look at the entire paper, instead of picking up the paper, I thought let me do a little quick analysis in terms of the ABC categories of standards, which are asked in the exam. Now, generally, if you ask me, what are the A category standards, I would say business combination, then the consolidated state standards like, Ind AS 110, 111, 28, then financial instruments, then revenue, then lease and share-based payments. And of course, when I consider the financial instrument standard, I also consider the fair value standard, which is Ind AS 113. Now, if you look at what came in the exams out of A category standards, financial instruments had a very good weightage. It was like 19 marks in the exam. I mean, I'm considering the entire paper, which was almost like 126 marks, including the choices available in the paper. And then you could see a fair value measurement question that was for 5 marks. So I would say that, if you consider financial instruments in entirety, including the financial fair value standard, it was like a 24 marks, which is like quite huge. And I think such a big standard, of course, I think deserves that kind of weightage in the exam. Then if you look at business combination, there were 2 questions on business combination, so that came for like 20 marks, a very good weightage. But I think some way or the other, when the business combination standards came in the exam for 20 marks, we saw that there was a complete disappearance in terms of the consolidated standards, which is also a good indicator for the people who are giving their attempt in November 22, that you can definitely expect a question coming on consolidated financial statements, 16 marks assured. Now, what area the question is going to come upon, that's something difficult to predict, but I think you can certainly expect that since it was missing in this attempt, you'll certainly see that in the next attempt for sure. Revenue got a very good weightage. Revenue standards were there for like 14 marks in the examination. And then once revenue saw a good weightage, somewhere leases was totally disappeared from the paper. And I think that's another indication of, given it a little red color, because this is indication that November 22, you could see leases coming the paper. Share-based payment, Ind AS 102, which is a very high frequency kind of standard coming in the exams, was also totally disappeared from the paper. So I think if you consider what did not come, consolidation, one area, share-based payments, another area, and leases, another area. And I think we can definitely expect a 16 marker on consolidation. Leases, if not more, then maybe on an average 8 marks, and share-based payment at least a 6 marks. So I think we could expect around a 30 marker from this area coming in the exams in the next attempt. So otherwise, if you look at the A category portion, which was there in the paper, it was 58 marks, which is almost like 60%. And I think the institute somewhere maintained the percentage of what comes from the A category standards. Generally, it could range to around even 65-70% of the paper, but this time it was almost like 60%. And I think considering the disappearance of the lease standard consolidation and share-based payments, I think that could have been the reason. The B category standards, if you look at, we had a couple of questions coming from the B category standards, like Ind AS 19, that was 7 marker, and Ind AS 23, that was again 7 marks. Ind AS 21, 6 marks, quite same what was given in the study material. Ind AS 105, again 8 marks question from the study material. Government grants was again 8 marks from the study material. Investment property, it came 5 marks. Now this was in fact one of the questions which came from the education material as well, and I was happy to look at that question, because I think some way or the other, sometimes many of us feel that is education material worth studying or not. But I think this 5 marker entry was good, because many times I've seen a lot of questions coming in the RTP from the education material. This time even in the examination we saw the entry. Even in the past attempts there have been questions coming from the education material as well. Ind AS 33, EPS was a small 4 mark cute question. And then there was of course theoretical based questions, which was non-Ind AS portion, integrated reporting in CSR, which was 6 marks. One could have left that one of the questions in choice as well, because there was a question in terms of conceptual framework as well as integrated reporting. There was an internal choice in one of the questions. But I think if I look at category B, yes, it came for 57 marks in the exams. But what was missing in the paper, I guess, we can see Index 8 missing, which is also quite a good frequency kind of a standard. We could see Index 16 missing. We could see Index 38 missing. We could see Index 36 missing. So I think the post-mortem analysis is not what has come. I think we're going to look at what is expected to come. So I think from areas on 16 and 38, something definitely you could expect in the coming attempt in November. Then I guess in terms of Index 8, as I said, an impairment. Index 36, would be expected. So these standards, I think you can expect easily around a 10-12 marks in the coming attempt, or maybe more. So I think if you look at the positive side, I think the 40-45% of the paper which is going to come in the November attempt has become a little predictive. But of course, you never know. There is always a disclaimer attached. So 58 marks from the A category, 57 from the B category, a very balanced kind of paper, because the examiner had almost considered that he's very looking at a balance, that A category and B category has got equal proportions of marks coming in. Then in terms of the C category standards, you could see there was a small question on Index 1, and then there was a theoretical question on the conceptual framework, because I think there was definitely huge expectation with the institute issuing the conceptual framework chapter with the practical illustrations, but there was a 6-mark theory question which one could have left in choice as well. But even in the C category standards, I think the missing part was Index 7, which generally finds a place. A small cute question on Index 34, which you expect at times. So in this particular case, I think we could expect something coming from Index 7 or 34 in the next attempt. So there could be around a 5 marks on that. So I think, considering we can predict, November 22, that there could be a 50 markers from areas like consolidation, leases, impairment, and then cash flow statement, and then 16, 38, as well as maybe from Index 41 agriculture, which is also one of the very favorite standards in the examination. So this is what my predictive, analysis is all about the paper. But if you look at the current paper, everything was almost from the study material. A few questions might have been picked up from the RTP, but I think it was a paper where I think anybody who has studied the study material of the ICI, irrespective wherever you would have taken classes, I think this was absolutely a very easy paper in terms of the content. But yes, on an overall basis, as I said, slightly lengthy, because I think if you had that speed factor, it could have worked. But I think of late, maybe the institute is thinking that if you're going to give you areas which you've already studied, then I think we're going to test you in terms of speed. So either the content or the speed, some way or the other, one needs to get up for that. So I think overall it was a good paper. People who attempted well would easily expect maybe around a 90% plus marks in the paper. So I think I definitely wish best of luck for all those who are giving their exams. So concentrate on what you're doing. Don't get disheartened or don't get distracted with what you've done in the paper. What is done is done. I think you should always move on and achieve better results for the coming exams. So on that note, wish you all the best, and that's all in this video. Thank you, take care, and bye-bye.